We are live. We are live.
Good afternoon and welcome to the East Hampton Town Architectural Review Board meeting video conference. Today is September 24th, 2020, and I would like to welcome everyone to the meeting, as well as open the meeting with approval of the minutes from our last meeting, which was September 10th, 2020. If no one has any questions or comments on the minutes that Derek prepared, I'd like to get an aye for approval. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye, great, thank you. The first application in front of us today is under architectural overlay, Juno 9 LLC, tax map number 300-189-6-2.3. This is 9 Tyson Lane in East Hampton. Michael, is there anyone on the line for Juno 9 LLC, quite possibly Jeff Ulysses?
There are no callers on the line. I'll let you know if I get one.
All right, great, thank you. Peter Gumpel, if you could read into the record what the application is for.
The application is for a proposed driveway entry gate, which will serve as a means of egress and ingress for the subject property.
I do have one
Okay.
caller on the phone if you would like.
Let's see who it is, please.
One moment. I'll be unmuting the caller on the phone right now.
Thank you.
I'm for the next application, thank you.
And your name, miss?
Shannon McCaffrey from Dewey's Planning.
Thank you. I'll put you on mute.
As I
Peter.
said, this is an application for a driveway gate. This gate does not serve the entry or egress from the property. The property is quite wide, and this is really acting as a service entrance. On either side of the proposed gate, which does not exist, right, there's agricultural fencing, which is clear, right, 8 foot high. Actually, it varies between 7 and 8 feet. And my objection to this is a solid gate. Derek, could you put on the next photo that I took of the property?
Also, Peter, let's look at the survey so we can understand where this is located. Ah, I see.
The house is right on lot number 2, which is right quite far away. Right, the driveway gate, as you see, is really acting merely as a service entrance. There is a sunken tennis court, which we've reviewed. Right beyond that, on lot number 2, is a swimming pool, and then the house and some ancillary buildings. All right, if we go back to the photograph now, no, the photo that I took. There we go. That's what's there now, right? You see the agricultural fencing on either side of this metal gate. My recommendation would be not to have such a solid gate as proposed, since it is not for visual privacy. I think the gate that they're proposing is too solid. It should be more open in keeping with the agricultural fencing.
How tall are those wood posts and how tall are those metal posts?
The The wood posts are between 7 and 8 feet. They vary slightly in height. The metal posts are there just temporarily, right? Because they're using this as construction access.
Well, how do we know they're there temporarily? The fencing doesn't go to them at all?
No,
Okay. When you go down Tyson Lane off of Further, if you go past this property, what's back there? Is there another home, another residence?
no, this is the property which is in the middle. Tyson's Lane has an east and a west and is actually a loop. This is the property that is in the middle of it. So there's property on either side and at the end.
So what my point being is someone who's driving past this proposed gate will see this when they're going to their residence.
Yes,
Mm-hmm. So your proposal is to what?
is to recommend that the gate be redesigned to be more open in keeping with the agricultural fencing.
Right, and maybe drop it a little bit lower?
The dropping, I don't think, is as important as the visual transparency of the gate.
Right. And do we know if those 7 to 8 foot wood posts and deer fencing, is that something that's been approved by the board, or is that with the way that it's positioned on the property, is that legal?
I believe it is, and I believe that we have reviewed and approved this sometime at least a year or two ago.
Yeah, I remember the tennis court.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Do we have any questions or comments by other board members?
I agree with Peter. It's Chip. I think the solid gate is very, very unfriendly.
Yeah.
And it's not that it's providing any visual, right, privacy.
Right.
Because, right, the tennis court is sunken and the property is so big, I think it'll just be a visual, objectionable, right, event along the driveway.
Chair, if I may, I believe we have the representative for the applicant on the line.
Great.
I'll be bringing that person into the phone line and unmuting them right now.
Hi, this is Jeff Ulysse, agent for
Hi,
the
Jeff.
applicant.
Great. Thank you for calling in.
Yes. I wasn't sure if this was a Zoom ID or a call-in ID, but I figured it out.
Okay, great.
Good.
So were you able to hear Peter's comments?
No, I'm sorry, I wasn't able to.
Okay, Peter?
I'm concerned about this solid gate in this location.
Yeah.
On either side is like 7 or 8 foot agricultural fencing, which is quite open, and don't quite understand the necessity for having a solid gate since privacy isn't required in this location.
Right. So the solid gate is to maintain some level of consistency with that road on Tyson. They own a home a few doors down, which is exactly the same exact gate. Is the only reason they wanted to install this solid gate so that there is some consistency on that particular road. I do understand the agricultural reserve itself is open and fenced in with open fencing, but the real reason and idea, methodology behind that is just to remain consistent with the other gates that are on that road.
Well, there aren't any other gates on this side of the road. The gate, which is the entrance to the property, the vehicular entrance is on the other side of the property. There aren't any gates on this side of the road on Tyson's Lane.
Right. So at the corner, there's a gate, not necessarily on the same exact side, but it is facing the ag reserve itself. And there's one more further down, and they're all the same gate. It's the real reason they didn't want to complicate the process, considering that they've gotten approved on those original gates. And that I can understand that the gates that were approved were for residential properties, not necessarily for the ag reserve itself. But they just wanted to remain consistent with what was already approved, and considering that the other two gates that are already existing are exactly the same, they didn't want to overcomplicate it and wanted to submit the same style gate.
I have a question for Jeffrey. Excuse me, Peter.
Yep.
The gates that you're referencing, you're saying that they are exactly this type of horizontal solid panel gate with, wide structured pillars. When were those approved by ARB? When were they approved by ARB?
Yes, they were approved by ARB, but I'm sorry, I don't have a specific date as to when they were approved.
Do you know approximately when? Was it fairly recent, or was it years ago? Because I don't remember this coming before.
Sure. From my understanding, and I'm more so shooting from the hip at this juncture, it should have been at the very least 2 to 3 years ago. And that's only because the same contractor that installed them is also installing this one as well.
Yeah.
Proposed to install it at the very least.
Peter, what do you think about this? Do you want to table this so you could go back and take a look and we can revisit it again, and maybe we could do a little digging on the past approvals?
I'm not sure it's necessary, because I don't think that this gate is appropriate on this eastern leg of Tyson's Lane. The gates that he is referring to are on the western entrance, or the western Tyson's Lane.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is inappropriate for this drive.
Okay.
So
as I say, Tyson's Lane is a loop on it. This is the eastern leg of Tyson's Lane. The gate that he's referring to is on the western leg, and we approved it in that location, but because the agricultural fence is completely open along this entire length, right, I don't think that a solid gate here is necessary.
So, Jeff, would you?
I do want to. Just so I understand the pushback on the solidness of the gates. So at this juncture, design-wise, is your concern? I'm not sure who was speaking. I'm sorry. A more open, transparent gate would be preferable for the board. Is that what I'm getting at, or am I understanding more? There's more required. Okay, so I'd like to table this, and if I could, unless we're going to go ahead and deny this particular design, I wanted to present a different design. Would I be able to table it and present a different design?
We're perfectly willing to table this, right, if you want to come back with an alternate design which is more transparent.
And Peter, let me ask you this. What are your feelings about those pillars? How wide are they? Are they like a 12 by 12? What are they? Do we know?
Those
Jeff?
pillars, I believe, are actually not 12 by 12. They're, I believe, by 6 by 6.
6 by 6. Okay. Are you okay with the pillars, Peter?
Yeah,
Okay. All right, Jeff. Yeah. So we'll table this. If you could go ahead and work on a new design following Peter's direction.
Okay. Understood.
Okay. All right, great. And so if you could have that to Derek by next Thursday, which is October 1st? Is that Thursday?
yeah.
Uh,
By 12 noon, then we can put you on for the following meeting.
okay. Fair enough.
All right, great. Thank you. So we're going to
Thank you so
table this.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to double check the date. So next Thursday is the 1st, and then the following Thursday, which is the 8th, will be our next meeting. So we all know that. Okay. Ruama Dahan, tax map number 300-159-1-2.19 Roberts Lane in East Hampton. And Michael Shannon McCaffrey was called in from Due East Planning.
Yes, I'll
We can-
unmute that line right now. She's available. I'll unmute that now.
Great. Shannon, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hi. Chip, if you could read into the record what the application is for, please.
Sure. This application is to legalize an existing standby generator on a property abording an agricultural overlay. Roberts Lane is a cross street between Cedar Street and Long Lane. This is a corner property fronting onto a small, elegant cul-de-sac off Roberts Lane. The generator is close to the front of the property and just off the cul-de-sac. The ag overlay is to the rear of the property. The generator sits in a heavily landscaped service area and is 15 feet from the side yard and 21 feet from the fence running parallel to the cul-de-sac in the front of the property. The large generator, 6 feet long, 3 feet high, 4 feet wide. Comments?
Well, what's your take on this?
I find it perfectly acceptable. It's beautifully screened. I didn't even know it was there. It's a highly maintained property. It's quite beautiful.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
Do we have any pictures?
No,
Okay. So do you want to move to approve this, Chip?
Sure. I make a motion that we approve the generator as situated on the property.
Okay. Can I get a second on that, Esperanza?
Yeah, I just asked if there were any pictures, but I guess if
There's
everyone.
lots of pictures,
not seeing
yes.
anything.
Well, then let's take some pictures if we can hold off on that, just so the board can see.
That's the generator looking from the side yard towards the house.
Does anyone on the opposite side of the property see that from there?
No, that Leland cypress hedge, the generator sits between the privet hedge you're looking at and the Leland cypress hedge. And you can just kind of barely see it through the privet. And this is the driveway coming in off the cul-de-sac.
Okay.
I mean, all generators should be so beautifully screened.
Okay. Derek, just go through the pictures since Chip took them and you have them. Okay.
It's sort of where the tree is back there.
Nice. Okay. Okay. So we had an approval from Chip. Can I get a second, Esperanza?
I'll second that.
All in favor, Peter?
aye.
And Diane?
Aye.
And Betsy, aye. All right, Shannon, you're good to go. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you. Have a good one, guys.
Okay.
Bye.
You too. Have a nice weekend. 55 Wainscott Hollow LLC, lot number 4, tax map number 300-196-121, 49 Wainscott Hollow Road. I also want to say that there is a second lot that I'm going to read into the record. Tax map number 55 Wainscott Hollow LLC, tax map number 300-196-124, and that is at 43 Wainscott Hollow Road. And Michael, we might have Joe Woodsma on the line.
There are nobody on the phone now, but I will let you know if that happens.
Okay. So Esperanza, if you can read into the record with regards to these two new houses on a new subdivision on Wayne-Scott Hollow Road.
Yes, and thank you for putting them together. Actually, that's helpful. So I'll read them separately. The first is for 49 Wayne-Scott Hollow Road. In Wayne-Scott, the proposed changes or improvements are a single-family residence with pool and tennis court. This residence will be a total of 9,159 square feet. And that's really all we, I guess, need to discuss. That, just so you know, the pool is 800 square feet. The tennis court is 60 by 120.
Right, which the tennis court and the pool don't come under our purview at this point.
Correct. And so is this, wait, let me see.
You know what I'd like to do if we could do this first? Let's take a look at the surveys.
Yes,
for
and
the-
also, and so sorry to interrupt you. That's the wrong elevation anyway. It's
Chair, if I
confusing.
may, we also have the representative for the applicant on the phone.
Okay, then we can start all over. Okay, great. Is that Joe?
Yes, it's Jeffrey Collet. Hi, how are you?
Oh, it's Jeffrey. Hi, Jeffrey. We're good. How are you doing today?
How are you doing? Really
We're
well,
good.
thank you. How's everybody else doing? Good.
Can you spell your last name for the
Good.
record, Jeffrey?
Colle, Jeffrey Collet.
Great, thank you. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to just take a look at first, Derek, the overview of the land that these lots are on.
And yes, Betsy, would you like for me to just read the other details of the other structure so that way we have a better idea of what we're dealing with on this property?
Well, I think yes, we can. If that's how you'd like to go, go ahead.
So the other proposed structure is at 43 Wayne-Scott Hollow Road, and it is also a single-family residence, totaling 7,571 square feet, and we'll go into the materials and so forth later. Just to point out then, the first structure is the one that will go, you will see in the center of the image there, those 4 lots that are outlined in red. So you will see tax map number 300-196-124, that's lot 7. And the tax map 300-196-1-21 is toward the middle, close to where it says A5, and that is lot number 4.
4?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
the larger of the two proposed structures.
Right. So before we go into it, Derek, if we could just go through the photographs that Esperanza has taken, as well as any other surveys, and let Esperanza give a little, sort of history on what's going on. So the board has an idea of what's going on before we go into the specific applications.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Well, you will recall that this 55 Wayne-Scott Hollow came before us in our last meeting on September 10th to move the structure that you see, one of an accessory building in this picture to the right of the tractor there by the tree. There's a house that is a historic house, or at least, it's an old house that was, we approved to be moved to number 59 on Wayne-Scott Hollow Road. This picture indicates the driveway or access to what will be a number of lots down this corridor behind the tractor, essentially. And
right. There'll be, if we could go back to that picture, there'll be a lot on the corner where the sign is and the tractor, then an open space about the size of one of these smaller lots, and then there's 4 lots that go down to the end. Okay.
Correct. So here you get a sense this is a very open field. It's, pretty much unchanged for as long as I've known it. The next picture that I think Derek had just put on is taken from where this house that you see will be moved. That's the house that we approved, the existing structure that will be moved to number 59. That's the lot that is just past these little, growth. And beyond that will be this row of new structures. You could go to the next one, Derek. Thank you. I'm trying to think. I think this is also just from that perspective.
This is the picture I took. This is the corner where the new location for the old farmhouse is going to go. And so it's the most southern point on Wainscott Hollow Road. But what you're looking at are the back of the houses that are on Sayers Path that butt into this ag overlay. And what we're looking at is the modest scale of some of these homes that look out onto this farm field. And then towards the left back is where the new homes are going to go. There'll be 5 lots along that back road, as well as another larger lot that will go right behind the smaller area where 59 farmhouse is going to be. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Go on to the next. That's another photograph. It was a beautiful day. Yes, it is. This is taken then from inside that driveway. So I was just going to point out that to the left there's that cornfield, there's a potato barn. You can get sort of the character of this area. To the right of that dirt driveway is where 59 is.
Excuse me, Chair.
This is the vista toward the west.
Excuse me, Chair. I apologize to interrupt, but it looks like we had lost the representative, and there's a new number calling in that has no caller identification. If you want me to take it, I just don't know.
It's Jeffrey, sure.
Just
he might
moment,
have
please.
he just might have lost
okay,
his line.
I'll be unmuting that new caller right now.
Okay, we'll wait.
Thank you very much. Sorry we got cut off and we had to redial in. Sorry. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. We're just going through some of the pictures, Jeffrey. Just bear with us. We're trying to get the rest of the board up to.
I see the pictures. Yeah, I want to hire the photographer.
Thank you. Yes, of disappearing vistas. So this is a picture of the lot 7. Is basically what we're looking at here.
Right, which is down all the way at the end of the access road, more towards the back of Sayers Path.
Correct. Just to the left of here is Sayers.
Yes.
Okay. So next one. That's just the same. Sorry. I just showed that because that's stake. I'm sorry. Could you go back to that, Derek, please? I don't know if you can make it out in this one. I don't know if it was the previous one, but there is the stake there that indicates where the property begins. And I think there's one way, way, way far back. You can't see it. I don't know if it was in the previous picture.
I can see it. I saw it. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So that I just wanted you to see where the property lies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is opposite that. So the house facade, that house facade would be facing this backyard of, I don't know if it's Sayers Path or the neighbor at Wainscott Hollow.
Right. And from what we understand, that property across this access road where that house is also agricultural land.
Yes, all of this is part of the agricultural district.
Right. So what we want the board members to realize when we start to look at the house, we're not only looking at the back south facing that faces the ag land that this subdivision's going on, but also the front facade of the house will be across the street from another ag overlay.
Yeah, and we'll take a look at that map.
Just for clarification, there is agricultural overlay on the opposite side or the north of the driveway. but that lot 7 is not. That's a buildable lot, and then there's a buildable lot next to that. The 20-acre reserve starts around the corner of lot 6, and then from around the beginning of lot 4 to the end of lot 6, beginning 3/4 of the way down lot 6 is the reserve. That directly across the
You're
street
right.
from
You're
this
absolutely
house
right.
is
You're
a-
absolutely right. So lot 7, the front does not face and more than a little half of lot 6. But on lot 7 facing east, it does, the house will also face ag overlay. Okay, you're right, Jeffrey. Thank you for clarifying that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
You're
just,
welcome.
you know, we can go back to that first map that Derek had,
Right.
which shows the ag overlay.
Right, but we'll just go through the pictures.
So again, these are just vistas again. This is the vista toward the north.
You okay?
Keep going, Derek, please. Thank you. So this would be lot 7. Lot 4, which is closest to the road, which this is the corner of. And as you see there on the posts there, it indicates the various lots that will be
Right. But
developed.
there's also a lot on the corner, Esperanza.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
So there's space in between 4 and then a corner lot. Right.
Correct. 3. Yes. So, you know, when we approved the move of the existing building to number 59 Wainscott Hollow, we did not know the scope of the development of this parcel of land, which is in an agricultural overlay district. So I think it's really important that we take a look at a number of things, not just the materials, which is something that we need to look at, and we will shortly. But you know, I think we need to look at what are governing criteria for the board as concerns agricultural overlay. So here you will see what Jeffrey just said, actually. So for the lower lots that are closer to Wainscott Hollow Road, all of this is agricultural overlay. All that is in yellow. Okay.
So the last lot and the partial of the second to the last, 6 and 7 across the street are not ag overlay. They don't face that.
Okay.
So their criteria could be a little bit different from the front facade.
So, you know, as concerns agricultural overlay district, among the standards that govern us as a board are maintenance of the character of an area, and I'm quoting from our, you know, the code, the assurance of harmony within that area. And that's why we really wanted you to take a look at all of these pictures, because with this in mind, you know, we'll look at the elevations now, and there are some schematics about the materials that will be used. And in my opinion, you know, the materials proposed for both these residences seemingly fit the character of the area. The proposed scale and the placement is of more concern with regards to these structures, and in my opinion, are not harmonious with the character of this agricultural overlay district. So perhaps we can then look at the elevations and we can walk through them with Jeffrey. Betsy, what do you think?
Yep.
I'm fine, yes.
So this is lot 4, which is the one closest to Wainscott Hollow Road. And again, that's the larger of the 2 residences.
Right. And out of the 4 that are one right after the other along that access road, number 4 is the larger of the 4 lots. Then 5, 6, 7 are a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
And and what's the square footage of this, Esperanza?
It's over 9,000.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that includes, just so we're clear, that includes the lower level. The 2 top floors are 6,000 plus. I think it's 6,500. So it's
Okay,
not,
thank you for that clarification.
It's not 9,000.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And could I ask, what is the,
What is the footprint then? Are we talking, I didn't see that in the plans. So do you have a square footage of
There's a
footprint?
site plan that there should be a site plan that you have.
Derek, is
shows
there a
exactly
site
the
plan in
placement
your
of the
file?
house.
Derek, let's go through some of the files that you uploaded from the submit from Jeffrey.
I don't see that.
Take your time, Esperanza.
Yeah, I'm not seeing, I have only the survey, and I'm trying to find the papers that we had. That was the only thing I had in my file, was the survey and the plans with the elevation and interior, which are of our concern.
Right, excuse me for 1 minute. Derek, can you please, I'm seeing a half screen. Can we keep that survey up on the screen for a minute? Because I want to make a couple points to the board members.
The survey shows the site plan, by the way. It shows the structure, it shows the house and the pool,
I know it does, but I don't see where it says
the pool and the cabana and the pool and the tennis court. Sorry.
All right. Well, before we go to that, because what I want to show is on this survey for the board members, that I want to point out not only those 4 continuous lots, but the vast size of that corner lot at the north corner, and the size of the second lot towards the south, and how it will overshadow that little tiny section where they're moving the old farmhouse to. What they did was they moved the farmhouse from that open area where you see that driveway, so that would represent the quote unquote vista that's necessary for the agricultural overlays or properties or farmland. So, you know, I just want to say this, that I understand from a zoning standpoint that this was all, you know, technically worked out. But my concern is, and we are not talking about those 2 lots at this point, but to Jeffrey going forward, just keep in mind when we do talk about those lots, that screening those houses and the more screening that happens will be less visual for this for this farmland. So let's keep going to try to find what are we looking for now to show.
Can I interject something? So you
Sure.
know a little bit of the history. So when I first bought this property, or I put the deal together on it, it's not my money. But the bottom line is, the town was very concerned about what was going to happen to that farmhouse. That farmhouse is not registered, but it's a very important structure. And just so everybody knows, I've done 3 of the 4 largest or most extensive, thorough, authentic restorations in the town of East Hampton. Maidstone Hall, which was the Gardner family home, the house that Alec Baldwin now occupies, which was built in 1698 on the highway, and then brought back to where it is today in 1756. I restored that back to its original. I'm currently involved in restoring the David Halsey house, which is the oldest house in Watermill, and I helped create with Sally Sandberg the program where people they're not ripping those old houses down anymore. They're covered. We created a carriage house clause. It's a longer story, but the bottom line is I've been involved in restoration out here for the last 43 years. So when they heard that it was me and the people who know the town historian that knows my history and my record for restoration, they were relieved. And what we did is we made a deal with them to move that house to that lot that was their recommendation, where they wanted to see that lot, that half-acre lot, and that I was going to be restoring that house, which I'm going to be doing, okay? that was all, you know, what we did. And what I did on top of that was I purchased a lot in the Waynescott School District for $600 and some odd thousand, and I donated it to the town for a affordable home and the affordable housing program to get, you know, in exchange for that lot. So the house that's next to it, okay, we'll probably utilize that, purchase that as a guest house. And that was the whole reason why, I mean, that what I just explained to you is the history of what we did there, just so everybody knows.
Right. Yes, and I appreciate that. And we were so thankful and grateful to you, Jeffrey, last week when Joe was before us about approving the move of it. But the problem was at that point for us as a board, we didn't realize the vastness of and the scope of this project. And while we're on that, what we didn't realize is that the signage that's on the north and the south corner hasn't come before us for approval. So we're going to need to discuss that at some point too. But
Honestly,
we appreciate all the work you're doing with regard to, you know, restoring and saving these old homes because they're important to the character of our town.
I started as a carpenter out here 43 years ago with a nail, with a hammer and a saw. So.
Okay. All right. So here's the layout. What is this for? Lot 4. Okay. So this is for the larger one that's approximately 6,500 square feet. So you can see the footprint of the house and the tennis courts and the pool. Okay. So then let's go to the elevations for lot number 4. And there they are. Okay, so lot number 4 does face an ag overlay to the front, and it does face to the back. That's Bronza.
Yes, and in that, taking that into consideration, what we're seeing here, especially on both sides actually, but especially on the rear elevation, which would face the open field, is a great deal of glazing. It's a lot of glass through windows and doors, and also what seem to be light fixtures. So we would really like to discuss that with you, Jeffrey, as well as, you know, we only received this proposed elevation and plans. What would be very helpful for this board would be to have color renderings, something that would be, you know, make it come alive for us so that we would actually be able to visualize this much better. But before we get to that, let's discuss the windows and doors.
Okay. Well, first of all, there are no light fixtures, just so we're clear on that. Okay. On the rear elevation.
What are those little canister-like things on the opposite sides of all the doors and windows? Are those little lights? That windows?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, those are egress lights. They're required by code. So because when someone walks out a door, they got to see where they're going. They're very small. I mean, they point directly down at the deck. They don't go out.
Well, let's just look. All right. Well, let's just look at the top elevation, okay, which is the front facade, okay. The north elevation. The windows to the left and right. No, I'm sorry, to the left of the front door on the second story, that doesn't appear to have a deck. So those lights on the side of those windows, what are they there for?
I don't, what are we talking about? These lights up here. I got the room. Well, yeah, honestly, those are a mistake.
Okay.
Well, there's lights everywhere. Every window has a light.
Exactly. You know what? This is, just so you know, be honest with you, the only lights that are going to be on the front of this house are the two on each side of the front door. The rest of them are that's a mistake, and it's my fault. I didn't pick that up before we submitted to the board. Those are all the only two are the two on each side. As a matter of fact, the two on each side of that front door will not be there either. They'll be back against in that little space between the door and the wall. They're not going to be on that front elevation of the house. That's a mistake. I apologize.
We need to have correct elevations.
Yeah, we can't do this.
We need to
because
table this.
No problem.
too long. So I would like to suggest this. I'm going to let, every one of the board members give their overall opinion, but I'm just going to say from the outset that after they do that, not opinion, but their impression of this, after they do that, I think what you're going to hear is you're going to need to come back to us with exactly what it is, because what our feelings are and what the ARB has purview over is how this is going to affect the agricultural overlay as well as the area. And if there's going to be 41 windows and doors and lights all over, we're going to have to ask you to modify that. So Peter, can you just speak to this facade and back part of the house?
Well, since we have agricultural right on both sides, front and back, I'm not sure that either of these elevations are compatible with the agricultural area, particularly the lower elevation, which seems to have an enormous amount of glass area.
Enormous.
And
Well,
the second
Let me ask you this. First of all, the landscaping is going to be along the borders of these houses. So the only the only view of the back to these houses is going to be from the agricultural reserve that nobody's going to see. There's nobody facing these houses. No one.
When you're driving down,
the photographs that we showed a series of houses off Sayers Path, which are looking at the.
They're looking down at this house.
Or up.
No, they're not. There's not. There's no from the houses on Sayers Path. There's plantings that keep these people from seeing those houses, and from those houses seeing these houses.
That's not what we saw on the photographs.
Yeah, this is not going well.
Let's wrap it up, yeah.
So here's the thing. There looks to be like a tremendous amount of different type of materials: siding, stone, the roofing, Yeah, we really need to have, as Esperanza said, color renderings. And I don't want you to go through the trouble of giving us those renderings based on what you're initially proposing, because I think, and I'm gonna ask Diane for her comment, because we haven't heard from you before I go further. Diane?
Well, I'd like to also know, how large is this lot that this house is on? What is the acreage? How much?
Slightly over 2 acres.
Slightly
over 2 acres.
Okay, I hear you.
Okay.
Well, I think my concerns are in alignment with everyone's concerns, that this is suddenly, I assume you plan to build on all 4 of these lots.
Well, 6.
That's correct.
All 6 of these lots. So.
That's correct.
So we're looking at probably, I'm doing just, really kind of rough calculations, 30, 40,000 square feet of houses with 40 windows in the back and doors. And, it's way, way, way too much glass and light emanating onto the agricultural property at night. Regardless if you're going to do landscaping, yes, you will have to come before us with the landscaping plan, but all of those modest homes that face that property, as well as people traveling on that roadway at night, it's going to be lit up like a circus. And, you know, I really highly recommend for this to go through, for you to come back to the board with a more comprehensive plan for all of the houses. If you want to just do the two in the beginning that are going to be representative of the other 4, that's fine, but we need to have color renderings that represent the materials in the way that they're going to present themselves in real life, and to reduce the amount of doors and windows and light fixtures that you have on the elevations that you submitted initially. So I'm going to table this, Jeffrey, and it's at your leisure to come back to us. Just give us, you know, the Thursday before the meeting you'd like to do the presentation again more comprehensively, and we'll be happy to meet with you for it. Normally, under normal circumstances, not during a pandemic, you would have come before the board at town hall. We would have requested boards and not only elevations, but design materials in their actuality, you know, what the siding's going to look like, what the stone is going to look like, samples of everything. This, you know, so we just can't fly with what you've presented here today. And I'm sorry that we took as long as we did going through the layout of this, because we wanted the entire board to understand what we're looking at. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah,
Great. Thank you so much.
See it too.
So
Okay, thank you.
just to be clear, we're tabling.
Yes. I need
Are we
to just
going
log
to
back
review
on.
lot 7 now?
We can
Are
pull
we
that
gonna
up, but
review
I
lot
think it's
7?
the same thing. We can pull it up, but I think it's going to represent the same comments. But go ahead.
Let's do that.
Let's do
And
it.
then we need to go back to signage.
Yes. Thank you. I forgot. Derek, so we're looking for the elevation for lot number 7. So that's the facade. And let's see if we could see the back. It still has all the doors and the windows and the lights. And then the upper elevation is the same. It's doors, windows, lights. Okay. So also too, Esperanza, you want to speak to the signage, please?
So yes, as Betsy pointed out earlier in this meeting, there are actually 2 signs. One that stands before these lots 3 through 7, which is a one-sided sign measuring approximately 23 inches in height by 33 inches in length. And that's it right there. It's on approximately 53-inch posts that are 3.5-inch square. So this, as I said, is a single-sided sign. Down the road, down the road by lot or number 59 is a second sign similar to this one, same dimensions pretty much. However, that one is 2-sided. So these should have come before us in order to have them placed here.
So Jeffrey, you're going to need to fill out an application for the signs, Derek, with the ARB office, please. And then as soon as we get it, we'll put it on the agenda for approval.
Okay, fine. So let me ask the question. So am I still permitted to go ahead with lot 59 with that project?
Yes, we got approval on that. And actually, the resolution was just completed this week, so you should be getting that in the mail.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Right. So
Okay. Do you have any questions, Jeffrey, other than that about the signs and what we're looking for the next presentation?
No, I'm a little bit taken back by your comments, to be honest with you. I've been building houses out here for 43 years. I have never, ever been turned down by an architectural review board in my life. And I think that with the current architecture that you're seeing all over the place, matter of fact, there's a 14,000 square foot house on Sayers Path that's up for sale right now that abuts the back of this subdivision. And I can tell you that if you look around, there's a lot of houses with a lot more glass than this all over the place. In Sagaponack, in the Jay Bialski's houses on the reserve there have way more glass than these do. And the bottom line is I'm just a little confused.
Well, the only thing that we can comment on is the applications that come before the East Hampton Town Architectural Review Board, not Sagaponack. It's not part of East Hampton. And the only time that the ARB reviews exteriors for residentials is when they are affected by agricultural property.
And historic district.
And historic districts, right. Thank you, Peter. Okay? All right, so we're going to table this, and we'll look forward to seeing you back with a more comprehensive.
Let me ask you another question. Is there a set of regulations or rules or what you accept and what you don't accept that's written down anywhere?
Sure.
There is a, David, can you speak to that with regards to our code for ag overlay?
Sure. Section 255-330 is the section for definition of what ag overlay is. And then subsection C has a little bit more information about what type of jurisdiction ARB has in ag overlay.
Yeah, I
I'll
think,
refer you to those sections of the code.
I guess what Jeffrey
Okay,
might
thank
be
you very
asking
much.
is for more guidance.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
So
Thank
we're
you.
going to
Have a
move
good
on
day.
to, thank you too, Jeffrey, appreciate it. Business signs, tax, for Brooke Abrams Design, tax map number 300-188-1-16.1, 251 Panago Road in East Hampton, and Diane.
Yes, this is a simple application for a double-sided sign on Pantego Road in that series of professional buildings on the same side as Town Hall and everything. There are several houses that have been turned into architects and lawyers' offices. And there, Derek, if you could show my pictures. I know they only came in this afternoon, but there they are. So,
Excuse me, Chair, just so you know, there isn't a caller on the line for this application.
Can we identify the caller?
One moment, I'll unmute them right now.
Thank you.
Hello, this is Brooke Abrams.
Hi, Brooke. Hi, Brooke. Well, I was just explaining.
Diane, if you could read into the record what the application is for, please.
It's for a double-sided sign, 50 inches by 11.5 inches, 4 square feet, 8 square feet both sides, double-sided. As I said, it is in this row of professional offices on Pantego Road that all have similar, very similar signage. There's a second picture, Derek, facing in the other direction. If you could show that. So the signs are very, they're very uniform. They're, and what is being requested here is an additional sign underneath the Fleetwood and McMullen Architect sign for Brooke Abrams Design that, and you have a drawing, Derek, that's it's exactly in keeping with the other 2 signs on either side of it in this area of Pantego Road. So unless anybody has any questions.
What are the colors? Is it the same color as the sign above, or are they different?
It is well, actually, No, this sign is blue. I think.
So this is going to replace the Janet Bennett.
Janet
sign,
Bennett
right?
interior sign.
Right, and it's going to be the same
With
size.
dark navy vinyl letters.
Right.
So it seems to me very much in keeping with the spirit of the things that are already there on that, in this little area.
Okay. Brooke, do you have anything you want to comment on?
I don't. I just want to make sure that you understood the sign is white with navy letters. The
Yes.
sign is not blue. And I'll be very excited to be a part of that.
Right. Did you submit a color navy with the application?
No, it just says dark navy vinyl.
Okay.
The sign is being fabricated by the same sign company that did Fleetwood and McMullen signs. So they're basically replicating the same signage with just a slightly different font for my name.
Okay. And so my question was about the color of the Fleetwood. Is it the same navy? The lettering?
I believe so. I could confirm that for you, though.
All right.
Would you
Diane,
like for it to be the same color?
Go ahead. Who was going to speak?
This is Brooke Abrams. Would you like for the font color to be the same color as Fleetwood's color? Because I can make that
would
happen.
be ideal.
I would do
I
that.
think that would work. Sure.
That would be ideal.
Okay.
Great.
All right. So nobody has any other questions?
I do. Is there any lighting?
No.
No
I
lighting.
mean,
Okay. All right, Diane.
okay, then I'd like to make a motion to approve this application for this sign as presented, with the understanding that the lettering is going to match the color of the Fleetwood sign that's already in situ.
Right, the existing sign. Okay, and no lighting. Peter, can I get a second on that, please?
Second.
All in favor, Chip
Aye.
and Esperanza?
Aye.
And Betsy, aye. Okay. Thank you. Good luck, Brooke.
Thank you so much. You have a good
Okay.
night.
All right. Home Sweet Home Moving and Storage Company, under change to commercial, tax map number 300-197-2-16, 342 Montauk Highway in Wayne Scott. Chip, please.
This 342 Montauk Highway is the Home Sweet Home offices and warehouses in Wayne Scott. The application is to install a cell tower for T-Mobile in a new cupola, which will be built on the roof at the back of the warehouse buildings. The new cupola will mimic an existing cupola, which is used by AT&T as a wireless tower. This is an industrial retail area bounded by a gas station on the west and the stone yard on the north. A corner of a residential neighborhood abuts this building, and it's in the back of the store and the gas station, but it is so heavily screened, I could not even see the house. The new cupola would be 45 feet tall in total, mimicking the one that is already there. I think we have a representative who'd like to talk about it. David?
Hi, again, for the board, my name is David Kenny. I'm an attorney with Snyder & Snyder. I'm representing the applicant, T-Mobile Northeast. Derek, I don't know if you have the photo simulations that were submitted with the application. I think that would be helpful for the board.
There's David. Hi, David.
Hi, how's it going?
Welcome.
Thank you for having us. If you scroll down to the first photo, so that's the map of where we took photo locations. Again, for history, this application has been before the planning board for some time now. We got caught up in the coronavirus delays, but we recently got an approval at the last planning board meeting in August. So we're now before this board for ARB approval. But these were the photo simulations that were prepared for the planning board filing. And these are the different photo locations that we took in the facility. Again, this application is what is known as an eligible facilities request. It comes under federal law, and one of the main points I think that's for this board to know is that we're required under federal law to mimic the same design that AT&T has proposed. So that's why our goal here is to mimic everything exactly that AT&T has done. Eric, if you scroll down a little bit, you can go to the first photo or a little bit more. The next photo after this. So this is a photo of an existing view of the facility now. That's AT&T's cupola. And Derek, if you go to the next one, that's exactly what we'll be proposing. The same thing. This will just be to house T-Mobile's equipment, so it can provide T-Mobile's FCC licensed services to the area. Again, some of the views that we took, we showed that it's not visible. The facility can't be seen from all areas, but there are other photo simulations that show, again, the goal and the design of this facility is to mimic what is there by AT&T. That's one of the requirements under federal law, is that we mimic the same design of AT&T. This is known as an eligible facilities request, whereby the federal government has encouraged the co-location of facilities at already approved facilities rather than building new facilities, single towers.
Yeah, so anyone who's ever driven through Wainscott knows there's almost no cell phone reception there. This impact of this second cupola is so minimal. I don't think it needs a lot of discussion.
I agree.
Does anyone have any questions?
No.
Are there any ground components of the cupola?
So
Or
yes,
is everything in the cupola?
So if you go to the site plan, Derek, we do have an equipment compound at the rear of the property. AT&T also has an equipment compound at ground level. So essentially the antennas and the transmitting equipment is inside the cupola, but the equipment that powers the transmitting equipment is located at ground level. This is this little area I'm pointing, but if you see the shaded to the north of the building, is the ground equipment. And if you go to different pages of the site plan, Derek, you can get a zoomed in version of that. It's going to be completely landscaped and screened with red cedar. That was a request of the planning board. So it'll be fully screened with landscaping that was requested by the planning board.
It's essentially a cement pad with some equipment on it, and it faces onto the stone yard. It's very, you'll never see it from Montauk Highway.
Okay.
All right, so does anybody have any questions for Chip or for David?
No.
Okay, go ahead, Chip.
I make a motion that we approve the cupola and the related cell phone tower equipment as stipulated by the applicant.
Great, can I get a second on that, Diane?
Yes, second.
And all in favor, Esperanza?
Aye.
And Peter?
Aye.
All right, thank you, David, good luck.
Thank you very much for your time, board.
Okay. Second under change to commercial is the Bluff Crest Cottages, tax map number 300-17-1-580 Firestone Road in Montauk. And Michael, I'm looking for Joel Halsey on the line.
We have one caller on the line. I'm not sure if that is Joel, but I will unmute that now if you'd like.
Great, thank you so
One
much.
moment.
Good evening, board. This is Jonathan Subject with Stella Lamont Rahani Architects.
Who are you with?
Stella Lamont Rahani Architects. I'm the architect involved with the 80 Firestone project.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Say your name again, please.
This is Jonathan Subject.
Can you spell your last name for the record?
Sure. S-U-B-J-E-C-T.
Okay, as it sounds. Great. All right. Hi, Jonathan. Is Joel with you, or you're just representing?
Chair, if I may, Joel's
this evening
calling
it's
in
just
right
me.
now. I have Joel. I'm going to unmute him too.
Great. So Joel is calling it. Okay.
Hi, this is Joel.
Hi, Joel. Okay. I'm going to just, if I can find it, I'm going to just read into the record what this is about for the board. This was before us in 2016, and we approved a 4 cottages on this property, which is 80 Firestone Road, which is next to the Montauk Inn, and it faces Fort Pond. The property is now coming, the property representatives are now coming before us to redo the application. It's not a modification, it's a new application where they're proposing 3 units instead of the 4. No, I'm sorry, I have this completely turned around. We approved 3 units back in 2016, and they were 2-story units, and each unit had its own pool. Okay. They're coming now before us to change that approval to have 4 units, and just to let you know that the existing property currently has 4 little cottage resort units on the property. And instead of a pool, each unit will have a deck and a hot tub. So either Joel or Jonathan, I'm going to have you walk through this with the board, but I'm just going to read the application. To remove 4 existing resort units, which we'll take a look at when we get into it, located in a resort zone, and to replace with 3 resort units with parking area, walkways, decking, pools. I'm assuming that's the hot tub, or is there a pool?
No,
it's the hot tub.
Okay. Stairway down to the bluff and substantial revegetation. Each of the units proposed will have a pool, so that's a hot tub. Please see chart below for extensive list of proposed structures. Okay. So, Derek, can we just take a look at some of the pictures of the existing blue cottages that are in this area? And I just want to mention, even though that this is a resort area, it's not a very large area. The roadway, Firestone, is somewhat of almost like a semi-dirt, gravel, paved road. And there are homes that surround this. It is a neighborhood. So I was glad to see that they were going from 2-story units to 1-story units. And I like the idea of the 4 since there was 4 already there. That's what we originally approved. We'll go through them all, Derek. Go ahead. It's easier for you. And that's how they laid out with the pool.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to go through all this. Derek, if you can just pop up maybe the pictures that we submitted with regards to the 4. Okay, so then we'll look at that. There's the survey while we have that up there. So Joel or Jonathan, approximately how many square feet are each one of these units?
Each one of the units is 600. Yeah,
I'm sorry?
600 square feet for each unit. It's
okay, and that doesn't include that does not include the decking or the pool. It's just for the living space, correct?
Correct. The 600 square is just living space.
Okay. And this application is for the units themselves, correct? That's it?
Correct.
All right, because I just want to mention to you if there's any signage as well as that staircase going down to the water, that you're going to need to either do a modification on that, or you're going to need to come back before us. And the other thing I want to mention,
there is a staircase going down to the water.
Right, but is that that's not part of this application?
that should be part of the application. If I did not add that, that's my bad. I didn't even think a walkway to the water required an ARB approval. My bad.
Well,
Sorry about that.
it's a structure.
Correct.
Right. And so we would need materials. What type of materials is it going to be? Is it all wooden? Is there going to be, cable wiring? The other thing is, I just want to mention this before we go on, that to the board as well as to Joel, that David, our legal, mentioned that this project has not been approved by either planning or ZBA yet. And that is correct. And if there's any changes to the plans that are, slight or large due to the planning or ZBA's review, that you would then have to come back again in front of the ARB for a modification in the future. So we could do one of two things. We could entertain this application and go through it and give you our comments, and then you can come back to us for approval after you get a planning and ZBA, so that you wouldn't have to do a modification, or we can just go through it, give you the comments, and see how the board votes for it. It's up to you how you would like to proceed on this.
We would like to go through it and see how the board votes on this. But again, I understand you can't take a vote on it yet because you do not have a schematic of the stairway. That is in the design phase right now, and I should have that in about 3 weeks.
Well, we could actually vote on this current application because you don't include the staircase in it. And you could then just put that on as a modification.
Okay, if we could go that way, that'd be a great route to go.
Okay, so why don't we go through the elevations, Derek, and let Jonathan and Joel give us a presentation, please.
Okay, I'll let Jonathan speak to the presentation of what's being proposed, and I can answer any questions with regards to planning board or zoning board issues that we're going through right now.
Okay. So what are we looking at here, Jonathan?
Okay, so I'm having a little trouble. There's a delay between the phone and the screen, so I'm not seeing what's being pulled up yet.
Okay, we'll be patient.
If you guys describe the elevations that you're looking at, then maybe I can do it that way.
It's A2-200A. So they're east elevation and west elevation.
Okay. So as you the board had noted early on, we went from an existing application which had 2-story structures and then 1 single-story structure, and then in talking to the neighbors and keeping with the character of the neighborhood, we decided to keep that view corridor open. So the application before you now has 4 1-story structures, and that's partially to allow the view for the sunset. And all of these, all 4 single-story buildings are all essentially the same, aside from their orientation on the site and a little bit of the way the decks are laid out, just based on where they're located. But before you have 4 single-story structures that are 600 square feet. They are 1 bedroom each, and then they have a living room. Here's the plan: living room, dining room, kitchen, and then there is each one has an individual spa, just an 8x8 spa with decking, and then there is a stair that goes up to a roof deck that has that takes advantage of the view. Now,
okay.
Materials?
Go ahead. So for the materials, you can see on those renderings, the latest version, also in keeping with the character of the neighborhood, there's just going to be wood shingles
Natural
on the
or
exterior,
painted?
and then there's glass that's facing the view.
The wood shingles, are they natural or are they stained or painted?
No, we would like to leave them natural. Just take advantage. Typically, we would do an Alaskan yellow cedar that just grays out to a nice gray silver, and just keep it natural.
And what is the color of the trim on the doors and windows?
The doors and windows we would typically do as and I think here we would do the same, which would just be a natural anodized aluminum, so a very light gray.
Okay. And the west elevation, is that what faces the pond?
If we're looking at, let me see the site plan, Unit 1A. 1A faces the pond. The long elevation is the west elevation, correct?
So anything west would be facing the pond.
Right.
Yeah. So, this came up before us in our last presentation with regards to buildings. Normally we would be in front of you with all, the plans laid out. There would be color renderings of the buildings so that we would be able to get an idea of what the materials are going to look like. And, a large presentation would be required. And under these circumstances, it's hard to do that, to give us, wood shingles and the color of the aluminum on the door, but it's necessary. So I'm going to ask if we can quickly go through all these elevations quickly, just so the board gets an idea, and ask for you to do a little bit more work so that we can get a better feel of how this is going to present itself on the property. Okay, so Derek, if you want to just go through the 4 cottages elevations. I think they're all very similar. It just depends on how they're situated on the property, where the doors and windows face.
Yes, we can cycle through each one, but each building, the materials are going to be exactly the same.
Right, and I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But we're also going to want to see decking material. We're going to want to see, tear sheets on light fixtures. I feel that this is a little bit lacking for us to go ahead and make an approval on this today. A landscape plan. I don't think you have that down yet. Signage I mentioned, since it is a resort.
The landscapes plan has been submitted. I don't know if it was part of this package. We've been before the planning board already, and LaGuardia Design has been working on that. So there's quite an extensive landscape plan with lighting and revegetation and so forth.
I don't know if Derek put that up on the smart board. Do you remember, Derek, if you put the landscape plan up?
Sorry, I was on mute. I was talking. I was on mute. The landscape plan was submitted with the packet?
Right, it was, but I'm asking Derek if he
there it is.
Uploaded it.
Lots of trees. Very nice.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions on this at this point? Other than the fact that we're missing a lot of elements, design elements and materials?
Color, material, lighting,
right,
signage. I think you've covered it.
Yeah, and plus the staircase. So I guess what I'm hearing from the board, because I'm not hearing any complaints, that I think we're favorable to the design element of the structures, and we're appreciative of what you suggested because of the neighbors being able to see sunset over the buildings, which they can now. I still would like to show, if possible, Derek, the blue cottages, a photograph of the blue cottages, so the board can see what is there currently existing, and how there they are, and how we're going to upgrade the property. And you see, it's very sparse. There's no landscaping whatsoever. So I think it's going to enhance this property nicely. Mm-hmm. But I think that there's more information, and we'd like to see color renderings and more design elements. Okay?
Okay.
So from what I'm taking about this is we're going to get you a set of basically a full set of color renderings of the 4 cottages and what they're going to look like after they've been built. The names and sheets of well, if it's going to be stain or if it's going to be natural, what's going to be what the wood trim and the wood siding is going to look like. Lighting, any cut sheets for the lighting, and if we're going to have any a design for the staircase, and any signage if we're going to have any.
Right, as well as what the cut sheets for the doors and windows that state what the trim is going to be. I mean, what the doors are going to be. Are they going to be painted? Are they going to, are there any wood doors? Are they all glass doors? We just need to have all those elements so that we could approve this in the correct manner when you're going for your C of O, who's ever out there comparing what was approved to what's built. We have records. But I think the board is favorable to this project. Am I getting that from everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
It certainly looks like an improvement over what's there.
Right.
Certainly a lot more glass, which I understand the reasoning for it with the view, but.
Right, but they're small enough units at 600 square feet. It's a sliding glass door for probably the living room and. So it's up to you, Joel, how you want to do this. If you want to come have us just table this, and you can come back
for like 3 weeks because we should have this. Yeah, we'll table it for like 3 weeks because we should have the design of the staircase done by then. I'd like to put this out there. We are in front of the Zoning Board of Appeals for a variance, just so everybody knows. The town code requires any structure within any resort structure within a resort zone to comply with the transient motel standards, which is a little bit odd. The resort structure is not technically allowed in a resort zone without a special permit. The transient resort standard that we are trying to get a variance from requires all structures all units within a multiple unit structure all units to be inside a multiple unit structure. So essentially, the town code is requiring essentially either one building with 4 units, or one large building with 4 units, or maybe 2 smaller buildings, which would still be larger than what we're proposing, to have 2 units in it. So I just want to let you know that we are trying to get a variance from that. We do not want to propose larger structures on this property that house multiple units in it because it really doesn't go with the character of a residential neighborhood or the area. So if there's any way that the board has any chance to, we will be going before the Zoning Board of Appeals before the end of the year. I don't know if there's any way that the Architectural Review Board could write a memo to the Zoning Board of Appeals stating that, I don't want to speak for you right now, but as what I'm saying, that the Architectural Review Board would be in favor of multiple structures opposed to one structure with multiple units inside of it.
Well, we can pull the board for you, okay? So
thank you very much.
Yes, so I guess those blue cottages were there before that code change or that code development?
Correct.
Okay, all right.
The old cottage colony, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to poll the board, and I'm going to ask Peter. I'm going to ask the board if they're in favor of the 4 separate units for the variance that Joel's going before ZBA for. And Peter, are you favorable to the 4 separate units?
Yes, I am, and I think that the 4 separate units are in keeping with what I see in this photograph.
Yes, thank you. And Diane Benson?
Yes, and I think the new design is very discreet. It's very nice.
Great. And Chip?
Yes, I like 4 separate units.
Right. And Esperanza?
Agreed that it is far more in keeping than having one large structure, so better to have the 4.
Yes, and I'm in agreement with all of my board members, Joel. So you could take that to ZBA, and we look forward to hearing back from you. It's something that you need to decide if you want to wait until you get that from ZBA before you come back to us for approval, because if for some unfortunate reason you can't get that, then all the work that you're doing with these 4 units is going to have to be redone. So it's up to you. But I guess what I'm saying to you is we're very favorable to what you have. We just, for the ARB to make approvals, we just need more information from you. Okay?
Great. I think that's a good idea. I think we will, I'll poll the group, the planning that we're doing in this, and the property owner, and but I think it would be a good idea to hold off until we at least have gone before the zoning board of appeals. The planning board is waiting on that as well too. So.
Okay, great. All right, excellent. All right, thank you so much, Joel and Jonathan. We're going to table this.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Bye.
Move on to comments to planning. 44 3 Mile Harbor, tax map number 300-161-4-9, 44 3 Mile Harbor Road in East Hampton. And Chip, this is you.
Derek, do you have some photographs just so they see what the property we're talking about?
Excuse me, Chair. Also, we have a caller on the line pertaining to this, I believe.
And her name would be, or his name?
I believe Pamela Glazer.
All right, let's bring Pamela on.
Hi.
Hi, Pamela. Welcome to the ARB.
Much.
Okay, so this...
Excuse me, we're going to have Chip go through his presentation to the board, and then you're welcome to make any comments you'd like before we do comments to planning.
Okay, thank you.
So this is on 3 Mile Harbor Road. It's just past where the triangle where Springs Fireplace cuts off to the right. In my time here, this has been a nightclub. It was the Spur for a moment. It was maybe a restaurant. It's now serving as a liquor pickup place where you can drive in and buy liquor. These are very old buildings on a relatively shallow lot. And the proposal is to take them all down and build a 2-story building that will include a food store, 4 one-bed apartments, I think 2 offices, a porte cochere in front of the food store, and an enormous amount of parking both under the building and around the building and in front of the building. I find that that's the side of the building now that goes back, and where that building ends is actually the depth of the lot. So this is not a deep lot. To put this kind of building that they're proposing on this lot, I think has nothing to do with the character of East Hampton. And I think it's an enormous structure for a very tight location and a very busy location. The traffic up this road at 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon is bumper to bumper and exactly like the Long Island Expressway. So those are my thoughts.
Okay. Pamela.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, and right there, let's leave that photograph up there, Derek, please. Thank you. Okay, Pamela.
Okay. So, well, this is the existing. We had our meeting with the planning board last night, and we modeled this building using the Hamlet study for East Hampton, which was talking about the need for food stores and affordable housing on this strip of 3 Mile Harbor, and that it was important, and that they were thinking higher density buildings along this thoroughfare would be good. So we went before the planning board and had an initial review, and they felt that our first design was too large, too aggressive, and we needed to keep it below the 10,000 square feet. But we were allowed to, because of it's a neighborhood business, to be up to 10,000 square feet. So we reduced it to below 10,000 square feet, and we increased the parking, which was their most important thing, was that we had enough parking. We still are deficient in our parking count, but we did put parking in the basement, and we are back. We did put our residences on the rear of the building facing the residential area. There are 4 apartments there. And the balconies of the apartments are facing toward the residential side of the lot. And, you know, I agree. It's very optimistic design for in scale to you know, to a lot this size. But I think that, you know, we've tried to scale it down by dividing it into smaller parts and you know, make it a welcome more than the, you know, the typical strip mall that pops up around here, you know, to have a little bit more character, and having some planting and sitting outside and, you know, be able to take out food and, you know, sit outside and eat it or and that sort of thing. And then to plant in front with a large bioswale because there are drainage issues, I think, in this area. And that 3 Mile Harbor is a little higher than this lot is, so we will need to retain our water off the highway. And I think, you know, this is our resolution.
Yeah, I would think.
Excuse me, I'm a little confused. What's the resolution to? This is what you presented to planning last night, and they basically said it was, you know, way over the top. So I don't understand if you can explain to me what you're saying to us. So, you know, this was scheduled before the planning board was scheduled. So, you know, for me, it's, you know, I couldn't say to you, well, planning isn't in favor of this building. So I wanted to hear what your comments were, mostly about materials and aesthetics, because if I have to go back to the drawing board, you know, I would like to know your opinion is about what it is. I don't really feel like this typical strip shopping centers that we have around here have any kind of appeal whatsoever. So I haven't found one that I think is charming or useful or nice, and there's quite a few. And the supermarket situation around here is also the same. So trying to give some curb appeal to a fairly large-scale building is, you know, a little bit of a challenge. So this is the solution that I've come up with. Now, if I have to go back to planning and redesign, I don't know whether your comments will be helpful, but I'm hoping that hearing your comments will help me as we go forward. That's my thought. Okay, Chip, do you want to respond to that, please?
Yeah, well, my concern is that this lot sits maybe 6 or 7 feet below the grade of 3 Mile Harbor Road, and it's slightly indicated in this rendering, but this really is a very low-lying area. And if there's water problems in there, it's just going to be worse, particularly if you're thinking about putting an underground parking garage in it. I don't like the parking in the front, and this is not going to be a supermarket. This is going to be a Cinderella type store at best, but this is not another Stop and Shop, so I don't think you should really call it a supermarket. It's probably a fancy food.
About
what?
You're correct about that. It won't be a supermarket.
It will not be a supermarket.
No, but it will be a larger scale market, maybe larger than Cinderella, but yeah, more likely a supermarket.
It's a fancy food market. I hate the parking in front of it. I mean, we have a lot of bad strip malls. You know, we don't need any more. And you know, I think you're going to be maxed out on the parking because it's a very tight site. And by the time you get all this stuff in there, you have to put the parking in front because you're not going to get it otherwise.
But in our comprehensive plan, well, we don't really cover parking, Chip. And right. But I appreciate your comments. But in the comprehensive plan, they really frown upon parking in front of buildings. So that's something that they covered in planning last night. So, but if you could speak to the aesthetics for Pamela, I think that's what she's looking to us for.
It would be really helpful for me, so you know I have direction.
To be quite honest, this is comments to planning. It's not necessarily to give Pamela, you know.
It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4. It looks like 6 separate little buildings, like a village in search of a village. But I mean, it's a lot of choppy little buildings that are all in one building. It's very contemporary. the idea of a porte cochere drives me crazy. I mean, what do we need a porte cochere for? I mean, are people going to be driven up there and they get out and go into this grocery store? I mean,
No, they pick up their groceries without their bags getting completely wet. I think that.
Well, who's going to pick them up? Their drivers? I mean, who's picking these people up in this porte cochere?
I think they leave your cart there. I mean, this is what I do when it's pouring down rain. I leave my cart by the door. I go get my car and I drive around and I go pick up my groceries.
Really?
Okay. All right. Okay. Diane Benson, please. Comments to planning, Diane.
Diane, well, and these red roofs in the rear represent some kind of affordable housing.
Well, it's worker housing, from what I understand.
What kind of workers?
The workers that work in the building.
No. It's they call it workforce housing, but it's a affordable housing generally for people who want to live and work in an area, as opposed to having to drive, miles from an area, a more affordable area. So that's part of the study for East Hampton, that they want this workforce housing.
Yes, that's understandable. I mean, those little red peak roofs don't seem compatible with. I mean, it's just much too much going on in.
Yeah, much too much going on. Yes.
Okay, Peter, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I don't know quite where to begin. First of all, I'm not sure that this is compatible at all with what we would like to see as the architecture or the new architecture of East Hampton, particularly this area. I think it almost looks, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way, but it seems like a series of components which have been put together, which are incompatible with each other. The red roof, the pieces, the arcade in the front, the materials. They don't create a comprehensive building. Right. Okay. If we're just talking about aesthetics,
right,
on it, I mean, having all of these different materials and different colors. I mean, I can understand having some commercial activity on the first floor and housing, affordable housing above that, but it doesn't seem to hold together as a building.
All right, thank you, Peter. Esperanza.
Well, I agree with all the comments that have come before. I actually, I was thinking as I'm looking at this, that what's interesting is the idea that there are these separate units, sort of like you would see a Main Street, if you look at Main Street or Newtown Lane, where there are different buildings that compose the street. But I agree that there's just too much of a mix of materials. I don't think that I think there's a practical use for the arcade or the Galleria there, and the porte cochere, but I don't think it's necessary. It just seems to me like it seems like this lot of land is way too small to accommodate this scope of a project. Mm-hmm. So beyond that, I mean, the aesthetics of it, I agree with the red roofs. It's just a little disjointed and unclear.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate the comments for the board. And Pamela, what I would like to say to this is that I'm sure you've been up and down the road and all through the Freetown area, which this is part of. Yeah. And it has a very traditional, classic, old East Hampton residential area. The commercial area The commercial properties that are on 3 Mile Harbor in this area are 1 story. To the north of it is a garage that a landscaping company has. Across the street is a 1-story dojo, which is a martial arts center. There's a masonry building. It's all very modest. The homes are modest. The way you have the rendering behind showing all those beautiful trees are actual people's homes that line that back parking lot. And I think we have to keep in mind our neighbors, not necessarily what a fancy food market's going to bring to the area when we have markets all through the area. And my understanding of the comprehensive plan for additional food stores were not in this area. It was up in the farther areas, up in Springs, where there's more condensed and farther away from the 3 or 4 markets that we have in town. I find this to look exactly like something I would see in Sarasota, Florida. I don't think it looks anything like what would fit into this area. And I don't find it to be warm and welcoming. I find it to be cold. I find that big red tower with the white lettering market. I mean, look at this. This is just, I don't know where this is going. So I don't think it's in keeping whatsoever with the area. I mean, is it attractive? Yes, I guess you could call it if that's what that's a subjective thing. But I'm trying to be objective for the neighbors and the people that are going to use this. And I think everyone, touched on different things, whether it's the parking, the size, the elements. I just don't see anyone having anything favorable to say. So I hope that helps. And I appreciate you coming before the board.
Thank you. I'm just curious about, there is a modern office building that is just right next to Nick and Tony's.
Yeah. We're very familiar with the Bates Massey building. It's a beautiful building.
Has no parking in front, simple materials, classic design.
Right. Beautifully landscaped. And it's small. It's tucked in. And in that area, they're all different, types of buildings. That's more of like a commercial hub, where this is going up into a residential area. I understand it's zone commercial, and there are commercial buildings around it. But what I was suggesting to you is to take a look at the area. I'm sorry. I think Pamela, I think this looks more like a strip mall than anything else.
I agree. I also think that, we have to keep in mind who will be shopping here, most of the year, and to keep the scale and the look of it, like you're saying, a little more welcoming, a little more approachable.
Right. Okay. So I appreciate it, and I wish you the best of luck with it. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Fences, walls, and berms. My wife really likes it, LLC. Tax map number 300-200-3-8, One Association Road in Wayne-Scott, Esperanza.
Yes. Okay. So this is has come before us. It had come before us for an extension with a design for a driveway gate. They have now come with a new application, with a new design, which is this one that you see on the screen.
Much better.
Which is a vast improvement to what was presented before. Let me just give you the specs of this, although you can see them there. Hold on one moment. The gate, the new design it's 15 feet wide, which fits the driveway there. It's a 5-foot gate with 5-foot 6-inch piers. That's clear cedar and galvanized mesh would go in the panels.
Pardon the interruption, Chair. We have a caller on the line pertaining to this.
Okay. Great.
I'll be bringing that caller in right now.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Rebecca Tran from Hollander Design.
Hi, Rebecca. Can you spell your last name for the record, please?
Sure, Tran.
Great. Thanks, Rebecca.
Okay. Hi, Rebecca. So again, I think this is a really big improvement. I think where it is as you enter the Georgica Association, which is a private community, so private that I almost couldn't get in today. And this is the first property on the left. I did take pictures, and Derek, I don't know if anybody has comments on this, but I did take pictures of that driveway entrance. And I also, there it is. So this would be exactly where that privet ends, right at the curb there. That's where the gate will be placed. And I guess the height, if you see it, would be about 3/4 up on that privet, just over halfway up the privet. I took a picture of the entrance to the Georgica Association, which has these gate panels. And I measured those, and that's at 4 feet. And I would really like to encourage, if it's possible, to encourage that we actually, if that could be the height, because I think the 5 feet is still really imposing for this area where there are no gates, where there's so much security. It's a wonder with you, Rebecca, and with the rest of the board.
To match the height of the existing gate for the Georgica Association.
Right, and if you do a 4-foot gate, you don't need to get ARB approval.
Yes, and then I don't have to go back.
Mm-hmm. I think that would be possible for us to do. The gate is slightly different than the entrance to the Georgica Association. We have that mesh in there, and it's scaled slightly differently because it'll have to be a little bit stronger for the gate mechanism. Mm-hmm. So it will look slightly different in scale, and the posts, I think, also in order to handle the strength of the automated gate mechanism had to be scaled up slightly as well. So the reason the gate is slightly higher was just to take the same proportions and scale it up slightly so we could have it functionally work as a automatic entry gate.
All right. Can we take a look at the proposed gate, Derek, again?
Yes, and so if it is an automatic gate, is there a keypad or is it just automatic?
I believe I'm not sure. We have to get the gate manufacturer.
Okay. Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we, Rebecca, if you would be so kind to go back and see if the owners would be willing to do a 4-foot gate in this style. I think we're all favorable to the style. We appreciate it.
Okay.
Then we don't have to come back. And if they're really adamant about the 5 foot, we can entertain it again.
And also, just as I'm looking at this, sorry to ask you before you go, I see on the plan here it says a 5-foot gate, but then actually, and this may be an error, it says 6 feet 2 3/4 inches for the piers. Is that to the low? Yeah, thank you. Okay.
That's to the foundation.
Got it. I knew I had read that somewhere and then corrected myself.
Right. Well, how much higher are those tops to the gate?
Looks like 10 inches.
I'm sorry?
7.5 inch square wood cap.
No, that's the width of it. What's the height of it? I can't see it. Is that 3/4?
Oh.
Inch? It looks like we're missing that dimension, but I can get that for you.
Okay. Well, if you're going to do 4 feet and your cap comes up a few inches, you don't need to come back before us.
Okay.
If you'd like to be back on the agenda for the next meeting, if you could contact Derek before next Thursday noontime, which is the 30th. Our meeting is October 1st. Okay? So we'll table this. Great. Thank you so much, Rebecca. Good night.
Thank you. Yep, you too.
Okay, Adam Kanzler, tax map number 300-67-3-39355 Old Montauk Highway. This has been postponed. It was originally for a pool equipment storage shed, but because the storage shed has a roof, it doesn't come under ARB approval because it's not a wall. It's a roof structure. So I'm going to move on to Adam Mackey, which is tax map number 300-197-12-29.624 Cow Hill Lane. And Michael, we're looking for Katie on the line.
There are no callers on the line. As they come in, I will let you know.
All right. Thank you.
All right. So this is, again, before us, the application is for fencing around the perimeter of the property facing Wainscott Northwest Road and Cow Hill to create a buffer for the noise from car traffic, vehicle traffic. The application has come back to us proposing to put the fencing, this green PVC fencing, as opposed to the white fencing originally proposed, 12 feet within the property limits along the property line of Wainscott Northwest Road and to the neighbor at Wainscott Northwest Road, and at 10 feet within the property line on Cow Hill.
Excuse me, Chair, if I may, that caller's on the line.
Great. Let's bring Katie in.
One moment. I'm unmuting the caller right now.
Thank you.
Hi, Betsy. Sorry, the video is a little delayed. I called it late.
Thanks. All right. So Esperanza was just starting to bring the board up to date on what's going on here.
Hi, Katie.
Hi, Esperanza.
So I visited this property many, many times. I drive by here all the time. I walk by here all the time. I'm very familiar with the area. I did see just after you had put in this new application that they had there were some new evergreens planted along Wainscott Northwest Road, and you did submit pictures of that. This is actually not that picture. This is the fencing along the neighboring property on Wainscott Northwest. So, Katie, what we actually wanted to ask you is that white fencing, not the picket, but the one that's further back, does that belong to the applicant?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So that's well over 7 feet high there.
In the back, it would be on the rear of the property, correct?
Well, but it faces the neighbor. I don't know.
On the side. It's on the side of the driveway that faces Wainscott Northwest.
Yes. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there's a legal part to this, but I just wanted to ask if you were aware of that. Also, if we look on the survey, which we could put up now also, I wondered if that is the fence that appears to be off the property line on the survey, or if that fence.
So that fence is the fence that's off the property line that's on the neighbors, and I actually do believe that is my client's fence, not the neighbor's fence. So that will obviously it can't be 7 feet; it would have to be 6 feet, and then it could be on the rear of the property.
Right, within their property line. Okay, so that was question number one. And then question number two is, would there be a willingness to bring it down to 5 feet?
So the fencing material that they want to use only comes in 4 and 6 feet. So we changed it to green, what was that? So we did change it to the green color. as well as we moved it back 2 more feet on that side. So, it would be behind all of that vegetation. In terms of any more planting that we discussed last time, that wouldn't be on their property. They've planted and planted and planted more to try to make that noise be as little as possible. And that's, why they're coming in front of you guys for the 6-foot fence.
Well, I don't know. Does any of the other members have any comments about this? I mean, there are a few issues with this property as regards fencing, so you just have to clear all that up, and you're aware.
Yeah. Well, Katie, that white PVC wall, because there's no opening on it, that is in the back of this applicant's property, but then comes alongside of the neighbor's property. And okay, so that's their driveway. They have a smaller white wooden fence, I think that is. But you can see that there's an area that goes between the 7-foot PVC that goes along the back side of their property, which is the side of the neighbor. The neighbor put up a 6-foot stockade fence in their backyard to block this. Okay, so what I would recommend is that, well, let me ask you this. The green PVC, whether we'd ask for 5, but let's say the 6-foot, is that going to come and wrap around and meet up with this white PVC? I mean, if we didn't bring this up, how are they going to do that?
Yeah, it does.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that's really.
Yeah.
Okay. That is so unneighborly to have a 7-foot PVC fence, gate, wall, whatever you want to call it, in somebody's driveway like that is really beyond. So my thing is that putting up a 6-foot green PVC wall all the way down that neighbor's property to their back fence, I don't know. We got to figure this out. This is not sitting right with me. It's really not.
Yeah, I mean, again,
I don't mind behind the landscaping, 12 feet in that goes along the northwest, Waynescott Northwest or Cow Hill, because Cow Hill, they have very heavily dense wooded, greenery that it's going to go. But we got to, before we can even go forward, we got to figure out what's going on this back area. Because I would be very reluctant. I'd be very reluctant to replace that little white picket corner fencing that marries to the rest of the property and have a green PVC 6-foot wall going along the neighbor's driveway. I just wouldn't. I can ask the rest of the board for their ideas about this.
Betsy, the 6-foot green PVC would be within, the 12 feet within the vegetation. Then it would come back out to that point where that 7-foot white PVC fence is and meet that fence, which would need to be brought into within the property limit of the owner, the owner's property. Correct. So it's the 6-foot green PVC would be behind.
12 feet in, right, behind the picket fence. Yes. But let me ask this, is it 12 feet in from the driveway?
Yes.
Yes.
So then how does it match up with the white PVC?
It comes back in an L. And maybe, Derek, could you put the survey on, and that way we can see that?
It is on.
Oh, no, the survey.
Survey.
There.
I have it on my other screen.
Ah, tricky you. So there it is. You see where it comes, that L, kind of loops around there, comes back to where that fencing is off the property line, outside the property line. That's, let's see.
At Cow Hill Lane? Where's this Cow Hill Lane?
Sorry, on the opposite side, which is where it has the test hole there.
Got it. Got it.
So that is what I presumed was that 7-foot white PVC fencing I presumed it was the Cow Hill Lane property's fence, which Katie's confirming.
Right,
We'd have to
right, right. And I was like, I can't believe that. Shit. Sorry, I turned my phone off, but it comes on my computer.
So I don't know if that makes it more clear how this is planned out.
Well, I'm not happy with it. The only thing that I could recommend is that they extend the 6-foot green PVC to the back past the fencing for the neighbor, and where her stockade fence goes, it could connect back to the white PVC behind that, but not in that driveway area.
I agree. And also it would be 6 feet, so it would be.
So it would go further towards the house?
No, it would, it would not onto the property line and go just to where, for instance, it says where that little brick patio is, maybe toward there. I don't know how far. No, where 22.0 line is. I think that's.
Well, let's just say hypothetically that 22.0 line is the demarcation of where the white PVC meets up with their stockade fence, okay, in the backyard, behind their little gate and fencing. So you bring it to that 22 point where the stockade fence is, and then it can connect to the white PVC there, because it's already shielded from the neighbor.
Yes. Behind
their stockade fence, but that it's not exposed at all in their driveway.
Which it's also unfinished.
I'm sure that they would be open to doing that.
Okay, and then they would take away that little green mesh fence that's on their property, on the neighbor's side.
Yes.
Just got to clean that up.
Well, and I know you guys mentioned too that the gate, their front gate, their posts are too high, and they're planning on bringing all that. That will be conforming. So when you guys sign off on before CO, all of that will be corrected.
Right. You know what? It's. I hate to keep tabling this, but I really want to be very clear about it. Is there any way that you could mark the survey to where it meets the white fence that is in back of the neighbor's stockade fence, so that we have, at least on this new survey, it's marked? Because I don't know, in fact, if it's at that 22.0 line.
Yeah, that's not a problem. I can certainly mark it up with the fences, and then I can resubmit, and we can go on and we could table it for 2 more weeks if you guys would like.
Yeah, I just want to be really clear about that. Does anybody have a problem with that on the board?
No.
No.
Okay. So Katie, you're clear about what we're asking for, right?
Yeah, no, and it makes sense. And I totally agree with the fact that their driveway is right there, and that having a green wall, if we can eliminate that as much as possible, that would be ideal.
Right. Yeah. And so, like I said, 12 feet back in, boom, and it goes, and then it can do its L when it gets behind their stockade fence, and it can match up to their white PVC. All right, so we're going to table that until you come back to us with that survey, okay? And I know you're on for 2 more with us, okay?
Yes, yep.
Okay. So 15 WSR LLC, tax map number 300-197-6-28, 15 Wainscott Stone Road in Wainscott, Esperanza.
Yes. So again, this was before us with Katie at the last meeting, I believe, and it's been resubmitted. The owner is willing to make the gate 5 feet in height. This is for a driveway gate on Wainscott Stone Road. So the gate would then be reduced to 5 feet in height, and the post would be 5 feet 6 inches. The columns will be 11 inches by 11 inches rather than 24 by 24 in what the original proposal. And then it's also, the material has been changed to be all white AZEK. So I think we have Derek must have the new design, because the last time we saw sort of a rendering, which had the large white columns and a gray gate. This is a drawing rather than a rendering. So is Derek there?
Yeah.
Are you able to find that?
Working on it.
Okay. I'm looking at the wrong one myself. There it is. So Katie, as he pulls it up, I just wanted to ask, the original rendering and drawing had these 1 inch, gosh, where is it? Let's say that it looked a little more transparent. So the spacing between the bars was 1 inch. This looks solid.
And it's white.
And it's all white, right? So I'm confused now because.
Would you guys like it to be more transparent with so there's a little bit of space between like the original one?
Absolutely.
Well, I think what we also felt with the original one, it was like a 1 by 1, and one of the board members, I think it was Chip, said it looked like LA, or something along that line. This is just, it's going from bad to worse.
Yeah, and the all white, actually, I mean, I wasn't opposed to the gray stain.
No, we were just asking for it to be more open, right?
Well, but I think that the all white actually just comes out at you even more, regardless of whether it's more open or not.
Okay.
Katie, can you give us some idea what's the idea behind this, why they went from that one to this? I mean, we appreciate
they want privacy. The owner really wants he wants privacy. So his when we went down from 6 feet, his hope was that he really wants as much privacy as possible.
So he went down 6 inches. He went down 6 inches and then he closed the whole thing up. And if he wants privacy, then he doesn't buy on a road like that.
Yeah. Okay. This is too much of a wall.
Or he's building a house on a road that's traveled by a lot of people. What do you expect? I mean, and the building window on that property is very big for the property. So I don't know what to say here. Anybody want to jump in?
The gate's too solid. We don't like the color. He could take every other board out or respace it, but this isn't acceptable.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. In terms of board size, I know you guys don't like the 1 inch. Would 2 inches be okay, or is that still too small?
I didn't mind the 1 inch. I don't know.
Can we go back to taking a look at that? What was bothering you was just the 24 by 24 pillars?
I only had objection to the 24-inch pillars and the height.
Mm-hmm.
Because right. I think that's what makes it it's this monumental structure right on Wainscott Northwest, where there are no other gates at all. It does not, again, this is what is under our purview. It does not harmonize with the area in any way, shape, or form.
Right. Nor do I think this does, nor do I think the new rendition is. Katie, we got to ask them to open this thing up and come back with something else.
Okay. Now,
Katie,
just in terms of the column, 11.
I'm sorry, Chip. What did you say?
Isn't the Lauder property right across the street from this?
This is Wainscott Stone Road. I don't think Lauders are here.
Wainscott Stone Road, which is
not Wainscott Main Street.
No, where's Stone Road? Is it?
It's the one you take down where Il Molino or Saracen.
Yeah. So the back of the Lauder house is directly across from this. Is it the 27 end or the Sayers Path end?
This is the Sayers Path end.
Okay, so the Lauder property is directly across the street. They have a 3-plank gate and a 3-plank fence. It's very open. It's very agricultural. If they're so clueless, take a look at that. It's their neighbor across the street.
And we actually had a picture of that last meeting, right, Esperanza?
Yes, I did. I had a picture of that, and I put that as an example of really the only gate that's there that's very discreet, much more rustic and fitting with this surrounding. And if it is the Lauder property, then I think, they're much.
It's the back to it, and it's more open than it is closed. It's lots of space.
There it is, right there.
That's it.
That's it.
And that's not if it is 5 feet, I don't think it is, but it may be, but it's a very, very modest scale.
Right. Well, I think the gate looks like it's more like 4 feet. The post might be 5 feet.
Correct. I agree. Yes.
So Katie, we're going to ask them to resubmit something more in keeping with the neighborhood, please.
Okay. Not a problem.
Okay.
Just in terms of column size, is the 11-inch
Yes,
columns too big?
more
Or is that-
acceptable.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, Marcy Waterman, tax map number 300-155-1-3, 124 Merchants Path in Wainscott, and that's Chip.
This is an application to seek approval of a plan to alter an existing driveway gate and alter and increase extensive deer fencing, some of which is not on the applicant's property. This property is off Route 114, close to the Sag Harbor border. Merchants Path is a highly wooded lane that ends in a dead end. The applicant proposed, Derek, can you bring up the photo of the gate? Next one, or Derek, there's a gate photo. Yeah. So this is the existing gate, and they're asking for our, I guess they're asking for some direction. This gate is, they want to cut the bottom of this gate off as indicated in that rectangle. It's a cedar gate, which are on 6 foot gates, which are 6 feet high at the posts and increase up to 7 feet high in the middle where it arcs up. They and the posts that they are attached to would not exceed 6 feet when everything is cut down. And so on the gate side, that seems fine. The survey submitted is from 2017, and it appears the keypad, which is on the far left here where the corner of the box is, it appears to me that that's in the right of way. So that's the gate part. The applicant proposes cutting down the 8-foot deer fence, which was the first photo Derek showed us. Derek, can you go back to that deer fence? Yeah, so this 8-foot deer fence is on the front side of the property, and they propose along the road, cutting it down to 6 feet, but increasing it. It kind of curves away from the road on the right side, and they now want a deer fence in the whole property along the road, which would add substantially more land under deer fencing. This property is all woods. The applicant further proposes installing and keeping the 8-foot deer fence on either side of the property going up to the house. Once you get to the front facade of the house, the back has always been deer fenced, and that deer fence is a mishmash of stockade fencing with deer fencing on top and just deer fencing. In places, this existing fencing in the back exceeds 10 feet high, post and fencing, and in some places, it's 12 feet high. And it's all sorts of stuff in the back here. There's bamboo, there's metal stakes, there's lots of stuff going on. So the front of the house and the back of the house are two kind of separate kinds of deer fencing. My thought is cutting the gates down as indicated is fine and would solve the problem. Further fencing in the front of the property is not a good idea. Most of the property is fenced in now, except for a small part in the very, very back. The side fencing from the front of the property up to the facade of the house needs to be 6 feet, not 8 feet. And they need to go around the back of this house and get all this fencing down to 8 feet and stabilize it. It's all sorts of stuff going on back there. That's it.
Katie, you have your work cut out for you today.
Seriously.
What do you want to do?
So
Go ahead.
we start
I'm sorry.
with go piece by piece? Can we start with the gate?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and just to let you know, the deer fencing that is currently on the property isn't actually on the property. Whoever installed it, it goes about 30 feet into the neighboring property. So the idea was to make everything that was going to be in the front 6 feet, and then do 8 feet along the sides for the deer fencing. I have a new survey.
Katie, the deer fencing currently parallels the curve of the driveway, and that where you've put in blue, that triangle that goes down to the right where it says Merchant's Path, that is all new additional deer fencing. The deer fencing now cuts straight up from the driveway. So you're fencing in a big chunk of the front of the property.
Okay, and I think the owner will be fine making it go to the back and taking the deer fencing out. That I guess that would be on the when you pull up to the right side, so it doesn't go any further, and just keeping it along that line and cutting it down to 6 feet.
Yeah, that would be a big plus.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I just want to make sure I understand. So the fencing along Merchant's Path goes away, and where the driveway is starts to go up towards, like where it says parcel number 1 above, like so that that triangle becomes not fenced in.
It's not fenced in now. This is proposed new fencing.
Oh.
It was
Current
to relocate.
Yeah, the current fencing more or less parallels the driveway with that kind of curvy, that S curve.
This is not good.
But it can't be 8 feet tall.
It shows what is actually being proposed.
So right now.
Yeah, go on, Katie.
Right now, I have a survey it's in the process. Surveyors are about 4 weeks out right now. And just to save time, I wanted to go in front of you for the gate and the fencing. And so what she would like to do is to lower everything in the front to 6 feet, and we will certainly remove that little the proposed fencing that does go more along Merchant's Path, because it doesn't go that far. So it's only 6 feet, and then 8 feet along the sides, if that's something that you guys would be open to.
It can't be 8 feet along the sides in front of the house. It has to be 6 feet.
Right.
6 feet in the
Anything
front.
in front of the front facade of the house, Katie, has to be 6 feet.
Okay, so then we will if she lowers all of the deer fencing in the front of the property on to 6 feet, and then behind to 8, would that be something you guys would be okay
Yes, that would be ideal.
When you say behind to 8, I'm not sure where you mean.
Well, the good new fencing, that the 8-foot fencing that's clearly new, is all in front of the house. But once you get behind the front facade, it's a mishmash of fencing. It's 8, 10, 12 feet high behind the front facade of the house, on the sides and I don't even know about the back. It's so overgrown, I didn't even walk all the way to the back. But that fencing is very, very high, and it's old fencing in the back.
And it needs to be brought down to 8 feet.
Yes. And the posts need to be brought down to 8 feet. Some of those posts are 12 feet tall.
Yep.
So I guess to answer your question, the front facade of the house, anything from the front facade to Merchant's Path has to be reduced to 6 feet. So all that purple marking and the blue marking to 6.
Okay. And then the blue marking also.
I would like to see that triangle not be fenced in, and that where the driveway starts to the north, it goes up to 6. You could do 6 feet to where that line is to the left of where it says scenic easement. There's like a little slash that connect to that and let that triangle be natural without all that fencing. What's the point of that? So can you redraw that
That's
for
totally
us?
fine.
Yeah, can you redraw that for us?
Okay.
We just don't want you to go away, so we want you to keep coming back.
Yeah. But really, she wants rid of it. The gates is the gate is what we need to.
I'm sorry, what, Esperanza?
Is it the gate that we still need to look at?
Well, we can go back to it. They were asking if they could cut the bottom and the posts off down to 6 feet.
Okay. But then what is that going to connect to if we're removing the gate, the fencing?
Well, the fencing's going to go, instead of going along Merchants, it's going to go up towards the top of where the wide triangle is.
The fencing will still be there, Esperanza. It's on either side, and it'll just cut right back instead of going along the road.
I see. So is that what it does currently?
No.
It cuts back. Yeah, that triangle was all new fencing that was going to be added.
Okay. I just wanted to be clear with that.
So we're asking for them not to do that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. So we wanted to cut back. Got it.
Right. And for it to be 6 feet going from the right post up towards the top of the triangle where that slash is.
Yes.
On the survey. All right, Katie, so you know what we're talking about, right?
Yep, and I will submit a new sketch on that survey before next Thursday.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. All right, have a nice evening and a good weekend. Thanks for all your help. Appreciate it.
You too. Thank you, Katie.
Okay.
You too. Bye.
Hi, Katie.
All right, so that's tabled. Issuance of certificate of occupancy, Wellesley Golby, tax map number. What, honey?
What
What's the
happened
matter?
to the Catherine and Michael Malika?
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Catherine and Michael Malika, tax map number 300-102-5-9, and that is 20 Wolf Way in East Hampton. Diane Benson.
Yes, this is an application for a fence height exception at 20 Wolf Way. And 20 Wolf Way is a cul-de-sac off of Red Dirt Road.
Caller, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt everybody, but I do have a caller on the line pertaining to this.
Okay, great.
I'll unmute
I think
that
that's
call
probably
right
the owner.
Hi, it's Catherine Malika. It's nice to connect with all of you.
Hi, Catherine. Welcome to ARB.
Okay, I continue. So when the fence was installed in March of 2014, they installed an 8-foot fence, including 4 feet of pool fence with 4 foot of deer fence on top. Since then, there has been some erosion, which has caused some of the poles on the inclines near our front gate to measure at 9 feet. We are requesting an exception to the town code so we can secure our C of O. Well, I must say that this is a totally innocuous circumstance. This fence that you're seeing, this fence and gate that you're seeing, is only 5 feet, and and it is behind the facade of the house, as you can see. On the right side of the house, the deer fencing that's attached is 8 feet or less. On this side that you just saw the photograph of, it does exceed 8 feet and is 9 feet. The owner said that they're perfectly willing to cut this down on the part that faces Wolf Way, this cul-de-sac.
To 6 feet.
And if you look at their survey, if you could pull up the survey, Derek, you can see that the fencing, I mean, they have very generously not fenced in the whole property. There is a 4-foot pool fence around the pool, and then there is the deer fence, but they have not totally fenced everything in. And I feel that if they just made sure that the fences facing Wolf Way or the cul-de-sac were at 8 feet, that the rest of it, which is totally buried in very mature, it's a very heavily wooded acre. I think that it would be fine if they kept these the deer fence that faces to 8 feet. I think it's a very innocuous circumstance.
So that 8-foot fencing is also behind the plane of the house, correct?
Yes.
And
behind the plane of the house. It's
right. So I'm sorry, you're suggesting that they cut down anything over 8 in the front facing behind the plane of the house, but the things that are the fencing that's running along the sides and the back, how tall is that?
at some places that it appears to be over 8 feet, maybe at 9 feet, but it is so you can't see anything. It is so buried in the heavily wooded acre that I think that it's.
Peter or Michael, can you remind me, can we go past 8 in the back on the sides?
No.
8.
I mean, I believe 8 feet is the maximum that we're allowed.
That's correct.
Unless there's special circumstances.
It's very uneven ground. It's
Just interrupt to remind the board that 255-1138 C2 allows for the 8-foot fence if there's exceptional circumstances. So again, exceptional circumstances, they need to apply here and make a record of what those are.
Nothing over 8 feet, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so it all has to be cut down to 8.
Catherine, are you
Hi,
there?
thank you. Thank you for giving me a minute. Yes, I am. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Thank you for giving me some time. So the fence was installed 5 years ago, and I think where there is a couple inches of differential across in the back, it's because of the uneven ground. The picture you're looking at now is the one pole that is our challenge. And if you look at this is at the top of our driveway. The challenge we have is that pole is definitely taller than it's 9 feet and change. The reason being that we have that stone wall. The stone wall to the left of it is give or take 3 feet high. So in order to get the pole all the way up to start the fence, so the fence itself would be 8 feet, the pole had to be taller. We went around and we spot checked a number of the poles throughout the property ourselves and only found that there were 3 of them that we found that were a couple of inches over 8 feet.
What's a couple of inches?
One was
literally,
4
I think
inches, another one was 3, inches.
Well, with regard to
the backside of the one pole.
You have to measure from the grade of the ground where the gate is, not from above the stone wall. And anything in the front facing the front part of the house has to be cut down to 8 feet. You got a couple inches in the back, I think we can, say we'll give her, there's like a little leeway there with a couple inches. But if it's over 6 inches, it needs to be cut to 8. If it's 2, 3 here and there, but everything has to be cut to,
that's what it is.
Okay. So everything has to be cut in the front to 8.
Yeah,
Okay, so just that one pole.
All poles and all fencing.
I'm sorry, Betsy, in the front also to 8 or to 6?
No, to 8 because it's behind the plane of the house.
Behind the plane of the house. And it's a very, very well-crafted property that basically has obeyed all the rules. Otherwise, and
we're trying.
We're
trying.
All right. So is that okay with everybody?
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to give a few inches in the back, Catherine, but 8 feet, no higher than 8 feet on the poles and fencing that face the front face of the house. Okay.
Okay, and just for clarification, both the pole and the fence have a max of 8 feet. It's not a fence-only max, correct?
No, it's the poles and the
fence.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, thank you all for your time. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Wait, so Diane, do you want to?
So I make a motion that we accept this application as presented with the understanding that the poles and fence facing Wolfway will not exceed 8 feet.
Okay. Can I get a second on that, Peter?
Second.
All in favor, Chip?
Yes.
Esperanza?
Aye.
And Betsy, aye. Okay, now we move on to certificate of occupancy. Just making a note. Okie dokie. All right. Wesley Golby, tax map number 300-32-6-4.1, 136 Benson Drive. And that is in Montauk. Is Joel on the line, Michael?
Currently, there are no callers on the line. When there are, I will let you know.
Okay, I just have to find. This was an application before us. This is 136 Benson Drive. This property is not a historic house, but the property butts into the association district. So it has to follow guidelines for the association district. So it came before us for approval for a pool, which normally it wouldn't be under our purview, but because it's in the association, and also a 400 plus square foot deck with a 100 square foot pergola. So they did not do the deck or the pergola at this point. So they're only looking for certificate of occupancy for the pool. Now, I recall when I went out there originally, and let me see how far, this goes back to 2017. That little shed was there on that back property. What it looks like they've done is they've kind of incorporated into the 4-foot pool fencing. So whether they're using it as like a little changing area or a shed for the pool for, blow up tubes or whatever people use in their pools. I don't know if this is something that we should include in the C of O because it was pre-existing. So, David, what do you think here? Can I include that in so that they have that in the C of O and it doesn't come back to them?
I wouldn't include it without the applicant requesting it to be included on the CO.
Okay, so we're just going to approve for the C of O on the pool?
That's correct.
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion to approve this for the pool only for a certificate of occupancy and make a note that the terrace, the 542 square foot terrace and the 100 square foot pergola was not built per this resolution of September 28, 2017. So I'm going to instruct staff to notify the building department that the pool only is ready for a certificate of occupancy. Can I get a second on that, Esperanza?
Second.
All in favor, Chip?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And Peter?
Okay.
Okay, great, thank you. Randy Feldman, tax map number 300-151-1-7.2, 69 Scrimshaw Lane in Amagansett, and Diane.
Yes. The resolution states that the board approved a 6-foot high clear red cedar sliding driveway gate. What exists is a 6'2", 6'3" charcoal painted sliding gate with 6-foot high 10 by 10 inch columns. There are no columns. All of the mechanism of the gate sliding is apparent. Each board on the driveway gate will be 8 and 11/16 inches with an inch gap in between each board. And between most boards, there is a 1/2 inch or a 1/4 inch. So it has nothing to do basically with the resolution.
Yeah, they're not inch boards.
Also, the 6-foot deer fencing in the front yard, there will be 6-foot deer fencing in the front yard, and the deer fencing is 8 foot plus in the front yard. So I don't see how we can accept this.
Okay, so we're going to table it. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Bruce Clark, tax map number 300-1, thank you, Diane. 300-170-5-4.1455 Further Lane in Amagansett. Diane.
Yes. Now, on the other hand, this resolution, this building of this gate adheres exactly to our resolution.
Oh.
And It's actually not quite 5.56 inches high. It's slightly lower, and everything about it is very nice. So I make a motion that staff be notified that the building department should issue a C of O.
Great. Can I get a second on that, Chip?
Second.
All in favor? Peter?
Aye.
Esperanza?
Aye, and the grandchildren will be kept in.
Right, exactly. And Betsy, aye.
Esperanza.
South War Country Club tax map number 300-150-4-2.5, 21 Abrams Landing, Amagansett. Peter.
This was an application, excuse me, for a sod shed. It has been built exactly as the resolution, including the light fixtures. I make a motion to have staff contact the building department that this project is ready for a C of O.
We should all have a sod shed.
Yes.
Can I get a second on that, Chip?
Second.
All in favor, Diane?
Yes.
And Esperanza?
Yes.
Aye, Betsy. Sherry and Nicholas Loeffler, tax map number 300-172-8-40, 112 Meeting House Lane in Amagansett. Peter.
This was an application for a sliding gate that we tabled last time because there was a 8-foot post with cameras on it. The post has since been removed, and it complies with the resolution. I'd like to make a motion to have staff contact the building department that this project is ready for a C of O.
Can I get a second on that, Diane?
Yes, second.
Esperanza? Aye. Chip?
Yep.
And Betsy, aye. Okay, so I'm going to make a motion to close the meeting of September 24th, 2020. Can I get a second, Peter?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And thank you, everybody. Good meeting. I really appreciate it. Hard work.
Bye,
And
everybody.
Eric, thank you.